Good evening, everyone. All right, I'll try it again. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Yes, love that energy. I'd like to officially welcome you to this very special gathering in celebration of Women in History Month. Some of you know me, some of you do not. My name is Delia Sines, and I serve as Vice Chancellor for the Division of Equity, Justice, and Inclusive Excellence, or EDGE for short, here at UC Merced. I'll share a little bit about our division. The vision for our division is that we have a campus community that both cultivates the well-being of its members and achieves excellence in learning, discovery, and service. And we do so by intentionally honoring and welcoming diverse contributions and perspectives. We're proud of that vision, and we hope you are in alignment with thinking that's what's good, not only for UC Merced, but for the larger world. We're delighted this evening to be co-sponsors of this event and to see this beautiful turnout. Your faces look magnificent to me, so thank you for joining us. Now, Women in History Month is a time to reflect on resilience, leadership, and the impact of so many women who have shaped our world, often against incredible odds. It is also a time to celebrate the women who are creating history today, paving the way for future generations. And I see some of the faces of future generations in the audience, so this is fantastic. At UC Merced, we take tremendous pride in fostering a space where equity, justice, and inclusion are not only just values, but lived commitments. And this is a perfect event to demonstrate how culture, food, and community come together to tell stories of tradition, perseverance, and strength. We have a great evening planned, and I'll be moving along very quickly after I make a few acknowledgments, so please bear with me. First of all, let me pause and ask you to join me in acknowledging all the local Indigenous peoples, including the Yokuts and the Miwok, who have and continue to inhabit this land and serve as stewards. We embrace their continued connection to this region, and we express gratitude to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and collaborate on their traditional homelands. Let's take a moment of silence to pay respect to their elders and to all Yokuts and Miwok people, past and present. Thank you. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize someone who has been instrumental in bringing the Shannon Lee visit to life, and that is our very own Chef Mitch Van Ogden. Chef Mitch, would you please stand? We've done a few of these, and I think we need to start calling the series Food for Thought, but Chef, let's talk about that. Now, I do want to acknowledge that through your leadership, UC Merced Dining has continued to be a place where food is more than just sustenance. It is storytelling, it is connection, and education. It's also a space for community, something that we value tremendously here, and we try to live out every single day, even if it means recognizing where we've fallen short, having dialogue about that, and then creating opportunities for growth. Thank you for all you do, Chef, and especially for your partnership with EDGE. May it live long and prosper. It is also my pleasure to introduce Chef Siska Silatonga. Will you stand, please, so we can recognize you? She is the visionary behind Chili Cali, a celebrated culinary brand that has brought the rich flavors of Indonesia to the San Francisco Bay Area since 2015. As a passionate advocate for Indonesian cuisine, she has earned prestigious accolades, including a mention in the Michelin Guide and a Good Food Award for her signature sambal. And for those of us who didn't know what that was before tonight, it is a delicious relish made with vegetables of fruit and spices, with an emphasis, I think, on the spices. Through her food, Chef Siska not only shares her cultural heritage, but also uplifts her community, making her a fitting guest for this Women's History Month celebration. So thank you. And then finally, I'm very honored to introduce an energetic group of youth that embodies discipline, dedication, and cultural heritage of the martial arts, the Sencal Abrasi Academy. So let's give them a hand. The Academy was founded in 1988 and has been a pillar of the Central Valley for 37 years, shaping the lives of thousands of students and multiple generations of families from its downtown location. Their commitment to preserving and teaching martial arts extends beyond the physical technique. It fosters mental strength, resilience, and a deep appreciation for the traditions that have been passed down for centuries. So thank you for your presence today. Their performance is a tribute to the spirit of martial arts, a philosophy that aligns closely with Bruce Lee's wisdoms and teachings. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being part of this special event, celebrating history, celebrating culture, and most importantly, celebrating community. Please join me in welcoming the members of the Sencal Abrasi Academy. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, that's a hard act to follow, Shannon. Thank you, Chris Abrasi and the San Cal Abrasi Academy. That was terrific. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Garner, and I am the Merced Regional Director for the Central Valley Opportunity Fund. And I'm also the wife of Chef Mitch Van Acton, who would have loved to be the moderator today with Shannon. But it's Women's History Month, and alas, Mitch, you are not a woman. So therefore, you have me this evening, and I have the honor, and I'm very grateful. Women's History Month is about honoring the contributions of women who shape history, break barriers, inspire future generations. Our guest of honor, Shannon Lee, is one of those remarkable women as an author, producer, entrepreneur, and daughter of legendary Bruce Lee. She's dedicated her life to preserving and expanding her father's philosophy, while also forging her own unique path, which she's done beautifully. As CEO of the Bruce Lee Foundation, Shannon has worked tirelessly to share the wisdom of Bruce Lee with the world, empowering people of all backgrounds to embrace self-expression, adaptability, and strength. So in the spirit of Women's History Month, let's celebrate a woman who's not only preserving history, but also making it. Let me introduce Shannon Lee.
Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. And how often do you get introduced by a scroll? That was rad.
That was amazing, right?
It really was. The performance was awesome, and then it was like, boom, the scroll.
So we were talking a little bit ago about how we were going to start this interview off, and honestly, you didn't seem too thrilled about this next part, but we're going to do it.
I'm game. I'm game for whatever.
We're going to do it anyway.
Okay. Let's do it.
So this is the breaking the ice part of this interview. Okay, we know you're a singer. We know this. So, and we were just talking about karaoke. So what is your karaoke go-to?
Ooh, so see, this is hard because I actually don't sing karaoke that often. I mean, when I sing, I'm mostly performing. I've done the national anthem at sporting events. Oh. I've gone on stage and performed in Hong Kong and China. And I'm a classically trained singer. So I know it's supposed to be like quick fire, and I'm like, here's my resume.
No, this is all good. This is all really good. This is good stuff.
I don't know, what is it? Eye of the Tiger, maybe? I don't know.
Eye of the Tiger. That's like a good one. That's kind of hard, but it's a good one. Okay. Okay. What is the last thing you Googled?
Oh, what? We were Googling something in the car. What was it? It was, oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
This is kind of, okay, this is a window into my world. I'm like, should I say this?
Say it.
What's the difference between a narcissist and a sociopath?
Okay. That's actually very valuable information to know, though.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're getting kind of serious.
Okay.
Best piece of advice a woman has ever given you?
Ooh. Best piece of advice a woman has ever given me.
That one's kind of hard.
Yeah, it is hard. You know, I have to think about my mom.
Yeah.
And I just remember her talking to me about really standing in my truth, and she had a real thing when I was growing up about, like, we don't lie.
Yeah.
And so and we make sure to lift each other up.
Absolutely.
And so I would say I would have to be that. Yeah.
That's super powerful. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about your mom here in a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Oh, okay, this is a good one. One stereotype about women you love to prove wrong.
That kindness is weakness.
Ooh, yes, absolutely. Okay, you wear a ton of hats. You're so talented. How do you define yourself if someone were to ask you?
I define myself as a creative.
Okay.
Because I try to bring creativity to whatever I do, whether it's running a business, whether it's, writing or producing or literally just living my life.
Yeah.
How can I create the life that makes me feel best in my body? How can I create the moment to be, what I need it to be in make the right choices and all of those sort of things. So I really think of myself as a creator first and foremost, and I love to do like crafts and stuff like that too.
Crafts are good. They're really good. So I've been listening to the Bruce Lee podcast, and you're almost at episode 200, I noticed. So congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. I know we probably got some listeners out in the audience. So I started back in 2016 with the very first episode, and I was really struck. It was something that I didn't realize, how you really had to really push to become the keeper of your father's legacy, and that you really fought for your father's intellectual property. Will you talk a little bit about the history behind that, and then your struggle?
Yeah, sure. So I started looking after my father's legacy in 2000. And at that time when I stepped in, it was, my mother, who is a wonderful woman, but who's not a business person, right? And who's very giving and generous, had done a number of deals. I mean, you have to think about when my father died in 1973, there wasn't like an industry of deceased celebrity licensing, right? And my mom certainly didn't think that he was going to become this global icon. The movie Enter the Dragon came out. There was a big, who is this Bruce Lee person? And then they saw some of his Hong Kong movies, and she thought it's going to go away over time, which didn't happen. And so little by little, 70s, 80s, people are like, well, can I make this t-shirt? Can I make this video game? And she would sort of do a thing here or there, whatever. But she never really thought of it as like, this is a business. And it wasn't really a business. So at that time. And so when I stepped in, there had been a lot of deals that had been made that were maybe not the best quality deals. One of which was that my father's name and likeness, the commercial rights to that had been given to one of the Hollywood studios in perpetuity.
Wow. That's crazy.
So I stepped in, and there were other things too. There was a lot of cleanup that had to sort of take place, but that was the big one. And it was like, okay, well, how can I get this back? I couldn't sue a Hollywood studio, and so it was just sort of like this process over many years of really getting to know the contract and what they could and couldn't do, understanding how they had abused that contract in certain ways, and little by little saying to them, okay, you weren't supposed to do that, let's, get some tighter controls. At the time, we didn't even have approval rights over what they could do. So, and I was like, it's I get it, you're putting his name and image, but it was all just like, dragons, kung fu, no quotes, no philosophy. I'm like, there's so much more to this man than just this. And so we tried to educate them about that. At one point, because they had taken some liberties, we were able to get approval rights. And at that point, I was like, no, you can't do that, sorry. We would approve things if they were okay, but there was a lot where I was like, no. And we just sort of stuck with it, time changed. We fought for every little piece that we could get. And eventually, culture shifted, their own internal processes shifted. Video games were huge. Mobile phones came around. I mean, like, none of this stuff existed initially, right? And they really wanted video game rights, and it was kind of unclear because the contract was old whether they had that or not. And I was like, oh no, you don't have that.
Yeah.
And so it just became like this back and forth, this bargaining, and then saying, okay, well, maybe I would give you that if you would give me this, you know? And look, I mean, we consulted a law firm. Could we get an attorney who would work on a contingency? And it's like, okay, you're going to sue a major studio. That's going to take, like 10 years and cost all this money, and you might not be successful. So it was really more like patience, understanding what the goal was, looking for every possible opportunity to be able to get in there. And ultimately, they really wanted video game rights. And I said, well, if you really want that, and maybe you're not so interested in the T-shirts and all that stuff, because they were starting to farm out their regular licensing, I said, why don't you give me that stuff back? Yeah. By the way, they didn't give it to me. I was like, how about, they made me buy it back. But, and I said, but if you want video games, then you have to perform. You have to hit a certain benchmark in order to keep those rights. And so we had this took years. Like, what's the discussion? What is it? Da, 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 da. So I was able to buy back the commercial name and likeness rights for general merchandise. And they kept video games, and then, but they had to perform, and then they didn't perform, and there was a trigger in the contract that I could then buy that piece back as well. And I mean, I had to take out loans and everything to do this, so it was a lot. It's still a lot.
That's incredible.
But to me, it's always been like, I believe this is my legacy. I believe I understand what this legacy is more than anybody else. And I feel that my father would want me to be the voice of this legacy. And so whatever I can do to step into that place, I will do it.
What an odyssey.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So your father's legacy is well known because of your efforts, but your mom, Linda Lee Caldwell, she played an incredible role in holding your family together after your father passed away. Yeah. And I think many might not realize this, but she became a school teacher to support you and your brother. Yeah. Can you share more about her journey and how her just absolute resilience played a role in your life?
For sure. I think for my mom, and you asked me, maybe this wasn't an exact piece of advice, but it was something that I role modeled from her, which is that, she took care of us. She took care of the family, and that was the number one priority. And so, anything that she had to do to help support us and give us a good life, she did. And part of that was that she herself, so both my father and my mother dropped out of college. They did not graduate from college. But then she went back to school and got her degree, and she took care of us during the day, and she would go to school at night, and she got her degree, and then she got her teaching certificate, and she just really modeled for me that, like, you just keep going. She had this perseverance, and she wanted us to, just be this strong family unit that has really helped me to be the person that I am today.
How is she doing these days?
She's doing really well right now. She's her 80th birthday is in a couple weeks.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's on a cruise, so she's doing well.
She's doing really well. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about your book. Okay. Be Water, My Friend, which is amazing, much needed. came out in a period that was much needed during the pandemic. And I'm gonna read the quote that this book is named from, if you're okay with that, from your father. So it's one of his famous teachings. Be formless, shapeless, like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, it can crash. Be water, my friend. And I know personally, after reading the book, like there were so many amazing takeaways that apply to life today, especially today. What inspired you to write the book initially? And then the timing, like what inspired you to write it when you wrote it?
Yeah, I wrote it when I was ready.
Okay.
And I would say that I always loved writing. It was something I loved as a young person. But I had some not great experiences. Like when I went to college, I was like, well, maybe I'll take creative writing. And I took a creative writing course and really did not enjoy it. I really did not enjoy the teacher and all of that. And I was like, well, maybe I'm not good at this. And I didn't have the confidence that I could write a book. And it just came with years of trying things, creating myself, getting to know myself, working on myself, understanding who I was, what I really enjoyed. The Bruce Lee podcast was a huge part of that because where my father and I meet is in the philosophy. It's what I love. And where he was a martial artist first and foremost and a philosopher second, I'm the opposite.
Okay.
And so on the Bruce Lee podcast, we would talk about his philosophies all the time, and I'm talking and I'm talking and I'm reading and I'm learning and I'm running his legacy, and I'm like, there's so much value here. And the reason that I got involved in doing any of this, really, because I didn't have to, was because his words have helped me. They have helped to heal me. They have helped me to have perspective and shift perspective on my life. And I know that if they can do that for me, then they can do that for others. And because he's known mostly as a martial artist, I really wanted people to know him as a philosopher. And so I got to a point where I was like, well, okay, I'm pretty well versed in this now. I think I know what I'm talking about. And I do love to write, and I want to try to write this book, and the time is now. I'm ready. And so it was sort of like giving myself the permission, which is really a lot of times the hurdle that we have to get over for ourselves, is giving ourselves the permission.
Right. And, having it come out during the pandemic, I know we've seen interviews, and we were just talking about one earlier about doing interviews on the green screen, right? Because everything was shut down. But I'm sure a lot of people found a lot of worth in your words during that time. Can you talk a little bit about one of my favorite parts of the book, the empty cup philosophy? Because
Sure.
I really, reading that, I think every day, I go through my day, I'm like, have I been doing this? Do I come in shut down and not listening? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the first line of the quote is empty your mind. And my father would say, the usefulness in a cup is in its emptiness. So if the cup is full, then you can't put anything else inside. And so the cup is sort of like a metaphor for our mind, or for our body, or for our heart, or for whatever it is, right? And so the idea is that you want to have an empty cup. You want to empty yourself out. What he means by that is if you're holding judgment, if you're holding preconceived ideas, if you're holding, oh, well, I know that already, right? Like, then you're not empty, you're not open, you're not willing to hear anything else. And there's so much else that is available to you if you can sort of move yourself into a more neutral stance, a more open stance, a more receiving place, so that you can, which requires you to be present, right? To be aware, to be actively listening, to be actively engaged, to not get in the way, right? To really be with the moment as it's unfolding, and to say to yourself, if you feel yourself starting to like jump in, go like, okay, well, hold on. Let me just empty out here for a minute and just see, is there something more to know? Is there a question I want to ask? Is there a perspective that maybe I'm not aware of that I could gain? And so the idea of the empty cup, I say this in the book, it's like, if this is the one thing that you practice, like forget about all the rest of it, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. I mean, look at the times we're living in, right? We're so divided and so, right? It's like empty out, feel what's necessary to be felt, learn what you need to learn, engage in the way you need to engage, and try to flow adaptably, flexibly from moment to moment and from situation to situation.
It's hard. It's hard to do that.
Yeah, it takes practice.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. I'm not there yet. One of the things there were many things that were great takeaways, but one of the things that really resonated with me was you talk about going back when you are stuck. You're stuck in your life. Going back in your history and untying the knots that you have to resolve past experiences that are still affecting us today. And that's very difficult. What advice can you give someone that is just starting that process?
There are many pieces of advice I would give. One thing that I would say is so my favorite quote of my father's, I'll just start here. My favorite quote of my father's, the thing that helped me to begin my healing journey and that connected me to his philosophy, was a quote that I came across in some of his writings that I'd never heard before. And it was, "The medicine for my suffering I had within me from the very beginning, but I didn't take it. My ailment came from within myself, but I did not observe it until this moment. And now I see, if I am to find the light, I must be like the candle and be my own fuel." And so what I would say is that any place within you where you feel a little stuck, you feel a negative something, you feel an emotion that springs forward, it is a point of investigation, because it's some piece of you that is wanting attention. And it's not, and as part of the emptying your cup, it's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It just is. And in fact, it's very helpful, because it is the way that we find what our healing is, what our growth is. And so you actually need those experiences. You need to feel those things. And it's challenging because it can be a little like anxiety producing. You can be like, I don't want to look at that right now. That seems like a lot. And that's fine. Don't look at it. The thing is, you'll just keep feeling it. You'll just keep repeating whatever experience you need to repeat until you're ready. And when you're ready, you look. And in the meantime, you don't need to beat yourself up about not being ready, because that experience is there to get you ready. When you have dealt with it enough, you'll be like, okay, I'm done with this now. I don't want to feel this way anymore. Which is how I felt about when my brother died, when I was right before my 24th birthday. And I was in so much grief, and I was in so much pain for years and years and years. And I was literally like, how am I supposed to live like this? I can't live like this. I don't want to live like this. And then I read that quote. And I was like, oh, I have to find the medicine within to deal with this suffering. And it's on me. And this suffering is telling me, you don't want to live like this, so find another way.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's just trial and error.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. We're all so hard on ourselves. We're all so hard on ourselves. I didn't do it perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, there is no perfect. The perfection is in the imperfection. The imperfection is guiding you. It's showing you the way.
Oh my goodness. Can you just stay with us forever?
Sure.
Okay, that'd be great. That would be great. Okay, one last thing about your father's philosophy and yours as well. Is there one part of his philosophy that you have found that is frequently overlooked that you've really had to champion? A message that people just have just not been paying attention to?
I mean, I think in general, people don't pay attention to the fact that my father had this deep philosophy, right? He studied philosophy in college before he dropped out. And he really did not believe in separating the martial arts from philosophy. I mean, this book is a book for everyone. And I do have some martial arts analogies in it because they're just useful as a way to describe a philosophical concept in a physical way. But you don't have to be a martial artist to participate in that. And so I think, number one, he's overlooked as being a philosopher who had a real dedication to weaving that into his martial arts teaching and into his life. And, he created his own art in his lifetime called Jeet Kune Do. And the core tenet, the core philosophy of that art is using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation. And doesn't that just describe water, right? Water finds a path. I mean, if you've ever had a leak, you're like, where is this coming from? How is this getting in? It finds the way in. It finds the flow. And it's not any one way. There are a multitude of ways to get to the same source. And the only limit that you have is the one you place on yourself, on your thinking, on your dream, on your goal, whatever it is. And so there are a lot of philosophies that I think that people just, of course, Be Water is his most famous philosophy, and so people know about it. But he has many, he talks a lot about the art of dying. And one of the things that he says about it is everybody wants to learn how to win, but nobody wants to learn how to lose. But if you learn how to lose, you don't lose as much, which is the art of dying. It's allowing yourself to make the mistake, allowing yourself to learn from the mistake, allowing yourself to feel the difficult thing, and allowing that to teach you and heal so that you don't have to keep feeling it, so you can let it go. So you can release, so you can move on to what's next and what's next and what's next. So, there's many things that he talked about, but that's one of them. I think one thing that people don't know about my father is he didn't believe in competition. He did not compete as a martial artist. And that was because, first of all, competitions of that day were points and tags, and they were not full contact competitions, which he believed in really like full contact expression. He invented a lot of the safety gear that is very commonplace today. But also because when you're competing against something else, you are putting yourself into a box. And you're not really fully expressing yourself as an artist. You are breaking down somebody else's game and trying to beat them. but you're not asking yourself, is this the way I would do it? Is this how I really want to, move my body or express myself or create this thing or work with life, And so it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. It's about co-creation. It's about looking within. It's about, as he would say, honestly expressing who you are.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to talk about Warrior. Woohoo! Woohoo! Okay. I don't know. Hopefully, a lot of you have seen Warrior. If you haven't, you need to. So, for the audience members that haven't watched Warrior yet, it's an action-packed series based on Bruce Lee's original writings, and it's set in the late 1870s during the Tong Wars in San Francisco's Chinatown. It is a beautiful series to watch. And Mitch and I are just starting our second viewing of it.
All right.
So you're the executive producer, and you were instrumental in making sure that the show stayed true to your dad and his philosophy. So how did you make sure while you were doing this that it did stay true to your father and his writings? Because that's hard, and especially in the Hollywood model.
Yeah, Hollywood. Oh. So a lot of people, so one of the difficulties that I've had in Hollywood and why people aren't like, how come there aren't 10,000 projects that you've made, is because people, first of all, people view me as a rights holder, and what they want from me are my rights, but they don't want me to be involved. And so many people have come to me over many years and pitched me projects, and we want to do this thing about your dad, we want to do this thing about your dad, and I'm like, okay, well, then I need to be a producer, and I need to be involved, and I need to be able to have say and have approval over certain aspects, and oh, no, no, we don't want that. And I'm like, well, then we don't work together.
Yeah.
Because that's not working together. And if you know Hollywood, like everybody will tell, oh, of course, of course you're involved. We want you to be involved. How could we do it without you? And then you get the contract, which is why it's really important to read your contracts, people. and none of that is in there. And so then you're like, well, and they'll say, oh, I know it doesn't say that in there, but we would never do that. Well, if you would never do that, then you shouldn't have a problem in putting it in the contract. And the thing is, I had to stand my ground and just say no.
Yeah.
And so the thing that was different about Warrior is that Justin Lin, who is the big budget Hollywood director, he did the Fast and Furious franchise and one of the Star Trek movies and all these things, was an Asian American filmmaker who had success, and he came to me about talking about doing this project. And I gave him the look, I have to be involved, and he said, great, and he sent the paperwork, and it was like, great, 50-50 partners, you have a say, and all of that, and it was the first person that ever said yes.
Wow.
And
that's incredible.
Yeah. And so it was really a beautiful thing. I'm really grateful to him for that because honestly, as a first-time producer at that time, what do I know about making these giant, big budget TV shows? Or I needed a partner. But I also needed an actual partner. And he was willing to do that, and he was willing to listen and involve me every step of the way. And I got to say, like, no, this is too much, or I don't like this. And in fact, one of the big things in that was because, the story takes place in the 19th century. And so, in the 19th century, women, and in particular Chinese women, didn't have any rights. But I said, the female characters in this show cannot be these like simpering, weak, stereotypical women. They just can't be.
And they're not.
And they're not.
They're absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah, and stick with it, because the first episode is just setting the stage. It really dives deep into Chinese American history. It takes place in Chinatown right before the Exclusion Act was enacted, and really talks about that time and place within a super kick-ass, fun action drama.
Yeah. Kick-ass.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, lots of that.
Oh, my goodness. So in Warrior, there's a strong theme of belonging and identity and fighting for one's place. How do you think those themes resonate today in the world, especially with young people?
I mean, isn't it always going to be a theme? Aren't we all fighting for our place?
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't matter on what stage. In any relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a family relationship, we're all sort of wanting to be in true, authentic connection. We want to be able to be who we are and accepted for who we are. And we want to have an equality of being, and not just on paper, but in actuality. And so I just sort of feel like I hope someday, right, we can all say like, yeah, we got the memo, and we're really doing it. But I feel like as human beings, it's part of our process to stand up even to ourselves, for ourselves, because there's a part of us that doubts, there's a part of us that's unsure,
Right.
there's a part of us that doesn't know, and that may feel insecure, and we really need to be in that practice without being hard on ourselves. I'm just going to keep saying that, because that doesn't do anyone any good, right? To be gentle but firm in your own relationship with self, so that you know when you can stand up.
Yeah.
And you know how you can stand up in any given moment, in any given situation. And they're not all the same. They're not all the same.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, it's important, especially right now.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready to spill some tea?
Oh, always, please.
All right. Let's spill some tea. So, what's one of the behind-the-scenes stories from Warriors that might find fans being surprised or inspired?
Ooh.
And if it involves Rich Ting, even better. Sorry. I'm sorry. Rich Ting is in the first season, and he's an incredibly handsome actor. So I had to throw that in.
Yes. There are a number of incredibly handsome actors in the show. A behind-the-scenes story or something that the fans would know?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, if you're like a die-hard fan, then you might know this, but the cast of the show are all really good friends.
Okay.
Like, people came to work on this project in like deep gratitude, in deep sincerity and authenticity, and everybody just became fast friends. The show has 3 seasons, and it's not been made now for a couple of years. And we're still all on a WhatsApp thread together.
I love that.
And we're still, getting together whenever anybody comes through LA, or we're somewhere where one of them lives. It's a very international cast. We have cast members from Hong Kong, Indonesia, South Africa, the UK, Canada, and the United States. So we shoot the show in South Africa. So, we all would come together and be in this place. And I have to say, everybody was there to work hard and to be kind and to be a good person, which I really is rare on film sets.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine.
that's some positive tea.
Okay, all right, that's good tea, though.
Herbal tea.
That's herbal that's herbal tea. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so what do you have project-wise coming up on the horizon? And, of course, I looked at IMDb to do a little snooping. They mentioned maybe a reality TV show.
It's so funny that you say this because I literally was looking at the IMDb and I was like, "We got to take this off of here."
Oh no!
We're not doing this. And that's an old project that's gone away. But we have many projects in the works.
Good.
Many. They take forever. They just take forever. They took us 5 years to get from concept to screen for Warrior, and that was fast.
Wow.
I'm working on a biopic right now that Ang Lee might be directing.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay, that's so exciting.
I'm working on an animated series that I wrote and created. Well, we're going to hire writers to do like the actual writing. I wrote the treatment. I came up with the idea. We do have sort of a reality-ish show that we're also pitching and working on right now. I'm working on another project with Justin Lin.
Okay.
Film and documentary.
Wow.
So, I just wrote another book that came out in January.
Oh.
But it's fiction. It's young adult fiction.
Okay.
And I have a co-author, a brilliant co-author by the name of Fonda Lee, because I was like, I've never written a novel, so if this is on me, it's going to take like 15 years. So I created this story in the world, and then together we wrote it. And it is based on, so my father wrote a lot of stories, treatments for film and TV. And they all have similar themes. They all involve martial arts and martial artists and themes of self-actualization, which was really his big thing, which is really what we've been talking about all along, right? How to actualize oneself, how to be one's self to the best of your ability. And so I was like, I feel like I could take all these stories and weave them together and create a world. And I want to go into another medium. I want to go into the medium of the literary medium, because I'd written one book, nonfiction, but I wanted to be able to create a world and reach audiences of a younger generation and of a different, space, and let them encounter some of his ideas. I mean, Bruce Lee is not a character. It's based on his creative writings, but I'm sure he would have played the lead if he could have. And we're weaving his ideas and his philosophies throughout the book. And so it's called Breath of the Dragon. It came out January 7th, and it's a New York Times bestseller already.
Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
Yeah. And it's book 1 in a duology, so we're writing book 2 right now.
That is terrific.
And we hope that it will be like a movie or something at some point, too.
Wow.
Which would be rad.
So you're going to be super busy in the next few years.
Oh, I'm very busy. Yeah. I also am working on another nonfiction book. I'm working on a children's book. I am the kind of person who, like I said, you asked me how I would describe myself. I'm a creator. I like to create. And I will take on as much as I feel I can do without running myself totally to the bone and without losing myself in the process.
Right, and that's hard. Okay, let's talk about your love. Let's talk about the Bruce Lee Foundation.
Okay. I was like, do you know something I don't know?
No.
Are we talking about my dog, Beans?
Oh, and Beans is super cute. I've seen pictures. I love Beans now. Okay. So you started the foundation to provide access to your father's teachings to help people enhance their personal growth and wellness in alignment with the mind, body, and spirit. Shout out to Natalie Daring, who's here, who's the executive director for the foundation, and helped us get this visit scheduled. Thanks, Natalie. What are some of the foundation's proudest accomplishments? Because I know there's many.
I would say I'm really excited about where the foundation is in this moment, actually. The foundation's been around for a while, but it took a while to really find its voice and to figure out how to have best impact. Okay. I think one of the hardest things about stewarding this legacy and having to create it as a business and as a creative enterprise and as, a programming and educational place is that there's so many different ways to go. And if you go in too many different ways, sometimes nothing gets enough attention. Mm-hmm. And so you really have to choose what you're going to focus on. And I think that thanks to Natalie and her help and her dedication and her commitment, we're really in a place where we are focusing deeply on empowering youth through my father's teachings and passing on his legacy of martial arts and mindfulness, so that embodiment, being in your body, knowing how to grow in confidence, to grow your inner strength, but in connection with presence, in connection with other people and in community. Right. And so we have a couple of programs. One is called Camp Bruce Lee. Yes. So fun. And the other is called Warrior Academy. One is a summer camp program. One is a after-school program that introduces kids to his quotes, to his to martial arts, not specifically his martial arts, but any martial arts, because martial arts are really a beautiful practice for the mind, body, and spirit, and also the ideas of social emotional learning concepts as well as mindfulness practices. And we try to really make it fun. I think that one of the things about my father is that he educated through entertainment. And isn't that such a great way to learn? Right. To feel like you're having fun at the same time, right? And that there's a joyfulness to it. So that's really what we try to do. And we work with a number of organizations throughout the United States and in Hong Kong. And we are in a place of really wanting to grow that programming. We work with the Boys and Girls Club, the Asian Arts Initiative, a number of museum partners and different things like that. And we really want to grow and expand this programming and bring that Sir Bruce Lee experience, create it for people, but then also bring it to like-minded organizations and different things like that. So, what was the question? I feel like I've been rambling forever.
These are all things that you should be very proud of.
Yeah, proud of. Yeah, I just feel like we're hitting our stride right now. And we used to do some college scholarships, which is great, but you can only give out so many college scholarships. Right. And I was like, how do I put these teachings in people's hands and have them practice them? How do I do that? Right. And so that's what we're trying to do.
That is wonderful. And don't you worry, I've already put a pitch in to have the camp and the Warrior program come to Merced, so I'm on it, folks. Yay. So as we start to kind of wrap up our time, we've got a lot of students in the audience. Actually, if you're a student, will you raise your hand? Let's see. Yeah, we've got quite a few of them.
Yay.
Hi, guys. So it's time for Shannon Leave to give some advice to our students. So many of our students, and we told you this when we took you on our little campus tour, that many of them are first gens, which is amazing. And so how do you think your father's philosophy of self-empowerment and resilience can inspire them?
So here's the thing. My dad he was born in San Francisco, but he grew up in Hong Kong. He came back to the United States when he was 18. He had really no intention to get into acting again. He had been an actor in Hong Kong as a child. He was super into martial arts, and that's what he wanted to do, and then he was discovered by Hollywood. And when he was in Hollywood, he could see that the representation of Asians in Hollywood was just, I mean, deplorable. Yellow face, all its stereotypes, just like all of these things. And he said, there's a need here. There's a need here for authentic representation. And in a place and in a time, which is really any place and time that can be, oftentimes who you are or what you're into or whatever is not considered to be, you know, whatever, the societal norm, the social, the best, the whatever, right? Like whatever those words are. But he was the opposite. He was like, the fact that I'm Chinese in this environment where there are not any or not many and not succeeding, you know, at a certain level is actually my gift. It's my gift. Like who I am, what makes me different is what makes me a gift for someone else. Everybody's out there trying to figure out how to be, you know, a certain thing, you know, how to be the best at this or that and the other thing. And I really have to emphasize that if you go on the journey of like really researching your own experience and who you are and understanding what you love and understanding what you have to heal and understanding what you want to know, that is unique to you. It is, you are the only person in the world who will do it that way. When I wrote this book, I was like, I mean, this book is filled with Taoist philosophy. It's been around for centuries. Do we really need another book about how water is flexible and adaptable? But the thing is, there are 10,000 books about these concepts. But somebody's going to read the book that I wrote, and it's going to speak to them. And when another book might not, on the same subject. So you have something that will speak to somebody. And I would just say that just remember that you are the gift. And what makes you different, what makes you unique, is what makes you that gift. And think of it as your superpower.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you.
And I'm not saying it's easy, right? Like, it's hard. You know, my dad said, like, don't go out and find another successful personality and imitate that person, but ask yourself, how can I be me? How can I be me? And it's not to say that there aren't people you can learn from and take from, but you will combine it and understand it and know it in a way that no one else will.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So one last wrap-up question. If there is one lesson that you want everyone to take away with them from today and their time with us, what would that be?
It's so funny because you're like totally Bruce Lee podcasting me right now.
Oh, sorry.
Because when I always ask that at the end of every episode, I say, if there was one piece of wisdom or one lesson that you could pass on to someone else, what would it be? Of course, I give them some warning.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
No. What would it be? There's so many things. There was a point in time in my life where I wrote the word be, B-E, on little pieces of paper and put it all around my house. And this is several years ago, and it was sort of a reminder to be present to the moment, to be myself, all those things. It took me a really long time to understand that I have a certain amount of just vitality and energy within my own being, without speaking, without moving, that I can, if I can just walk into a room as myself and not have to try to convince anyone of anything and not try to make some impression, that there is actually value inherent in just being. And it may sound like sort of an esoteric thing to say, but I just want all of us to know that we inherently have value. Inherently. You don't actually have to do anything for it. I know society wants you to believe that you do, but actually you don't. You just have to believe that you do. That's it. And so I guess I would want to say, like, I lean, my dad is a martial artist and all that. I lean more on this, a little bit on the side of, on the yin side of the yin yang, right? On the gentleness side, where it's like, yes, I can be super fierce. Like, you don't want to go up against me sometimes, but most of the time, my fierceness is just in my being and just saying, and just standing there unabashedly. And my fierceness is in my ability to be at peace with myself. Because, my father talked about stillness all the time, and he said the true stillness is the stillness in movement. If you can be still here while you're moving, while you're talking, while there's all this stuff going on around you, then actually you have a center point from which all your potential can flow, all of it. And so I guess I would just say that.
Yeah.
Guess I would just say that. And it's hard to make yourself believe it. And it takes some work.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, you guys don't even know. I mean, I'm sure you do know. I have beat myself up 10,000 ways to Sunday. I have told myself that the only reason I am interesting as a human being is because I'm Bruce Lee's daughter. And it took a lot for me to go like, I don't even know what that means. What does that even mean, Bruce Lee's daughter? Like, I get, we know what it technically means, but like, it doesn't actually mean anything. Because I'm me. Yeah, that's like a modifier. But it has taken a long time to get to that place and just allow it. Like, we just don't allow ourselves to be, And so more and more, I just try to be in the practice of allowing myself to just be. And when I choose the bad thing to eat, or I watch my 6th hour of Netflix, or I whatever, because I do all those things, I just go, okay, well, you did that. Let it go.
Yeah.
What are you going to do next? And sometimes it's write a book, and sometimes it's eat potato chips. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom, making the trip to Merced. It's like an odyssey. But we are incredibly grateful that you did come and spent your time with us. So
this is my favorite thing. Like, I love to spend time and just share. I just think there's so much value in it. And I really thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having the idea. Chef Mitch.
Oh, my goodness. Well, so Shannon has been kind enough to agree to stay a bit with us. So you'll have a chance to possibly meet her after the event. We've got our little step and repeat over there for photos. And so thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. And of course, we've got a wonderful reception waiting for everyone. Chef Siska Silatonga, thank you for your award-winning Indonesian cuisine. I want to thank Danielle Armadia and the external relations crew for all of your hard work in making us look so good. And lastly, to Chef Mitch and the dining crew, thank you for putting everything together tonight. Thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone.